Hello everyone, welcome back to Daily Devotions with Pastor Peter. Today we're in Genesis 47. A lot of things are going on, and I've been quite busy over the last few days, so hopefully you understand, and hopefully your break was good, as I was not breaking at all. Anyways, we're in Genesis 47, and let's continue with the story. And to make things worse, I actually recorded this already, and then for some reason it got deleted, so now I have to re-record it again, which is fine. Gives me another chance to take a look at it and to talk through. But hey, we are in Genesis 47. Let's read along. And this is what it says. Genesis 47. Jacob blesses Pharaoh. Then Joseph went to see Pharaoh and told him, "My father and my brothers have arrived from the land of Canaan. They have come with all their flock and herds and possessions, and they are now in the region of Goshen." Joseph took 5 of his brothers with him and presented them to Pharaoh. Pharaoh asked the brothers, "What is your occupation?" They replied, "We, your servants, are shepherds, just like our ancestors. We have come to live here in Egypt for a while, for there is no pasture for our flock in Canaan. The famine is very severe there, so please, we request permission to live in the region of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Now that your father and brothers have joined you here, choose any place in the entire land of Egypt for them to live. Give them the best land of Egypt. Let them live in the region of Goshen. And if any of them have special skills, put them in charge of my livestock too." Then Joseph brought in his father Jacob and presented him to Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. "How old are you?" Pharaoh asked him. Jacob replied, "I have traveled this earth for 130 hard years, but my life has been short compared to the lives of my ancestors." Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh again before leaving his court. So Jacob assigned the best land of Egypt, the region of the Ramesses, to his father and his brothers, and he settled them there, just as Pharaoh had commanded. And Joseph provided food for his father and his brothers in amounts appropriate to the number of their dependents, including the smallest children. Meanwhile, the famine became so severe that all the food was used up, and people were starving throughout the lands of Egypt and Canaan. By selling grain to the people, Joseph eventually collected all the money in Egypt and Canaan, and he put the money in Pharaoh's treasury. When the people of Egypt and Canaan ran out of money, all the Egyptians came to Joseph. "Our money's gone," they cried, "but give us food, or we will die before your very eyes." So Joseph replied, "Since your money is gone, bring me your livestock. I will give you food in exchange for your livestock." So they brought their livestock to Joseph in exchange for food, in exchange for their horses, flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle and donkey. Joseph provided them with food for another year. But that year had ended, and the next year they came again and said, "We cannot hide the truth from you, my lord. Our money is gone, and all of our livestock and cattle are yours. We have nothing left to give but our bodies and our land. Why should we die before your very eyes? Buy us and our land in exchange for food. We offer our land and ourselves as slaves for Pharaoh. Just give us grain so we may live and not die, and so the land does not become empty and so desolate." So Jacob bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. All the Egyptians sold him their fields because the famine was so severe, and soon all the land belonged to Pharaoh. As for the people, he made them all slaves, from one end of Egypt to the other. The only land he did not buy was the land belonging to the priest. They received an allotment of food directly from Pharaoh, so they didn't need to sell their land. Then Joseph said to the people, "Look, today I have bought you and your land for Pharaoh. I will provide you with seed so you can plant the fields. Then, when you harvest it, 1/5 of your crop will belong to Pharaoh. You may keep the remaining 4/5 as seed for your fields and as food for your households and your little ones." "You have saved our lives," they exclaimed. "May it please you, my lord, to let us be Pharaoh's servants." Joseph then issued a decree still in effect in the land of Egypt that Pharaoh should receive 1/5 of all the crops grown on his land. Only the land belonging to the priests was not given to Pharaoh. Meanwhile, the people of Israel settled in the region of Goshen, in Egypt. There they acquired property, and they were fruitful, and their population grew rapidly. Jacob lived for 17 years after his arrival in Egypt, so he lived 147 years in all. As the time of his death drew near, Jacob called for his son Joseph and said to him, "Please do this favor. Put your hand under my thigh and swear that you will treat me with unfailing love by honoring this last request. Do not bury me in Egypt. When I die, please take my body out of Egypt and bury me with my ancestors." So Joseph promised, "I will do as you ask. Swear that you will do it," Jacob insisted. So Joseph gave his oath, and Jacob bowed humbly at the head of his bed. That is the last of Jacob, as we see here in the book of Genesis, chapter 47. And there's a few good lessons that we can learn from here. Preparation is key. Joseph, with God's wisdom, prepared for the worst of times. And I think for those of us here in California, we live in earthquake country. There's no better time to prepare than now. And I keep on saying that, with my wife probably laughing if she's watching this, that I bought a 55-gallon drum to store water, and I haven't done anything with it, and it's been a year. Not enough water for us for a family, though, but as we have in our house, I calculated that we have 30 gallons around in water bottles and water filtration systems, and then 55 gallons would be helpful, but then with a family that's large, we may need some more, and so water storage is critical in an earthquake country. They recommend that we have water in every room, shoes in every room, which is anti-Asian culture, food in every room, and just in case, if anything were to happen and we are not able to get to each other or get to the food stores, we have all these in place. And the reason why that's important is because you never know when disasters come. We learned that from Texas just recently with their power outage, power grid failure. Solar power is something that we need to consider, whether it's for our homes or for our buildings or church or businesses, whatever it may be. It's just that I've heard this term, and it stuck with me for the longest time, is that luck favors the prepared. But in this sense, I think wisdom favors the prepared, because when disasters come, it's not if, when disasters come, we are ready. And what Joseph did was he was able to bring great wealth to the nation of Egypt. He ended up buying everybody, and they became his slaves just because they wanted to live, and he had enough to go around for all the livestock. I mean, just imagine how much food he was able to store up during those years of plenty. And during the years of plenty, when we're doing well, we don't think about storing up our treasures. But he did, and he did it well. He stored it up. And so a lesson for us, as we see from Joseph here, is that, we may have good stores of things, but there may be certain things that we can do to prepare ourselves in case of some economic collapse or, whatever it may be. Be prepared. Be prepared. Be prepared not only physically, as I've mentioned here, but then spiritually as well. We've been in a pandemic. I remember a year ago when this pandemic started, no one knew what was going to happen. No one knew what's going to be of our food stores. People were afraid to go out and shop in supermarkets. I mean, I think we've kind of relaxed a little bit in the midst of this pandemic. And here in the United States, especially in California, our numbers are going down. They're steady in a sense of infections and people dying in hospitals. However, many people are getting vaccinated. And so we are not as concerned as we used to be, just in general in our conduct and practices. But, it's one of those things. When disaster comes, I remember as my wife and I were going out shopping a year ago just for supplies, we saw people hoard so much stuff. For us, we were a little bit ahead of the game, and we just wanted to prepare for earthquake. We have stuff prepared for earthquake. We wanted to beefing up our stores to be ready. And now we have enough food for us and our family, and still some extra. And I think we got to go through and eat some of that food because, hey, food does expire, supposedly, even though people say they don't always expire. But it's something that we prepared for, and it's something that we should prepare for, physically but also spiritually. The spiritual part is, if we were to die in midst of some turmoil or tragedy or some situation, are we ready to meet our Maker? Are we ready to meet God? And that's the preparedness. Our actions, our conduct. Do we live in a way that's pleasing to God? Do we reflect His character? Are we living in a way that pleases Him, that brings people closer to God? Are we doing our part in sharing the gospel? Are we living out our lives in a way where people know about Jesus? Are we prepared? Have we done enough? I mean, I thought just a moment ago, not a moment, but like in this last week, Jesus' death on the cross, what was it for? Who is it for? And how does it matter to me? And if we figure death is something, such a high price to pay, but then if that price was paid for me, am I repaying it as much as I can in my life? Or am I just ignoring it, being ignorant about it, and just living my life the way I want to, not caring? and not giving any thought to Jesus' death. Which begs the question, is my response to his sacrifice enough that when I meet him in heaven, I could say, yes, I did my best. And so the preparedness on the physical side is important, true, but preparedness on the spiritual side is so much more important. When we meet God and we stand before him in heaven, he's going to ask us, was my grace enough for you, or did you continue to live the life that you wanted to live because you didn't care? A lot of things to think about in terms of preparedness, my friends, but be prepared in all aspects of life. Be prepared to expect the worst, but hope for the best. Be prepared for anything that may happen in the future, that we won't be caught off guard. Study Scripture to know what will come. And so that if we ever need to meet our Maker, we have no regrets. We have no fears. We're not in desperation because we knew that it was coming already. Watch the signs. See what's going on. Be like Joseph, being so close to God that he was able to understand the dreams that other people had, referring to what God is planning to accomplish in the future. All right, my friends, take care. That's Genesis 47. Got a couple more chapters left. I guess we're stretching this out a little bit more, so we'll go into next week. But I hope you enjoyed that and something for you to think and pray through. Have a great week. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.